on the YouTube stream. Give it a second. Okay, we are streaming live for another Tech Talks. This one, I think we advertise this as something like cleaning up your course using Link Validator.
Yeah,
which is a tool built into Canvas that can help us identify and solve some of the very common problems that sometimes crop up when we are copying courses from one quarter to the next.
yeah, exactly. So today we'll be talking about Link Validator, and I think a really easy way to just think about this tool in your Canvas course is that what it does is it combs through all of the hyperlinks or materials you have and makes sure that a student would be able to access them.
Which would be a hugely laborious process if you were doing it manually.
Oh gosh.
Every quarter for every class.
No kidding. Yeah, you'd be clicking every link on a page, and you'd be jumping into student view and doing all sorts of things like that. So it speeds up the process pretty substantially. So what I've got right now on the screen is just an example. So I pulled some content from SFCC's Guidance 105 course. They've got a template course, and I had a hand in kind of like doing some of this work for them. So I thought it'd be a good example, since this is something that I ended up having to fix. And it just is a good opportunity for us to kind of see how the Link Validator works. So where we're going to start is we're actually going to go into settings in the Canvas course. So I'm going to
Do we want to show the student view of the problems first or no?
Oh, I guess that would be probably a good place to start.
I'm just thinking like to show what are the problems that crop up for students, especially sometimes in ways that are invisible to the instructor, and then how do we fix them?
And that's a good point. So in this case, what I've done is I've jumped into student view, and there's two places that have content in this course: the syllabus and this assignment example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the syllabus first. And already we can see some materials that aren't showing up properly. So in this case, when you see stuff like this usually means there's an image that isn't loading properly. The Link Validator will be able to kind of tell us why that is. And then
it's also important to note that usually this problem will be invisible to the instructor, the owner of the course, and we'll get into why that's the case. But you as the instructor would look at this class and it looks perfectly fine, and the class starts, and then suddenly you get emails from the students who are panicking because, oh, this isn't showing up, something's broken, link's not working. And for you as the instructor, it's all appears to be working fine, and you don't know what the problem is.
And that's a great point. So as you can see right now, I just toggled between student view and the instructor view, and you can see that those images actually work right now. So an example of that kind of like disconnect, because you have permissions to other courses that things might be pulling from, just kind of seeding that idea for when we touch on it later. That might cause things to actually show up when they want for the student. So here's just that syllabus. Again, this is the things that we can see obviously visually that are wrong when we jump into student view, but there's a bunch of different links in these little drop downs, for example, and we could have, spend the time to click through all of them to see if they work or not, or we can have Link Validator basically do that work for us. And then the other element that we're going to be checking out is this assignment. So in this case, we've got another image that seems to be broken. If we come down, we start like clicking on certain links. Oh, looks like that file's not working. Not sure why. Come down further, and let me see, I think in the example here, here's another one, failed getting file to preview. So we've got two different errors happening here. And once again, this is the stuff we can just easily check and see. But if you're doing this for an entire course, that's part of the reason why Link Validator is useful. So let's jump over there. So I'll jump out of student view and just to kind of finish the point. If I click in here, oh, whoops, looks like it works for me. Wonder why the students aren't having access.
Yeah.
Now we'll jump into Link Validator and kind of see why. So I'm going to go over into my course navigation, jump down to settings. And then over on the right under course status, we have this kind of this menu to pick from. It's kind of those copying and deleting and all sorts of things like that. But at the bottom, validate links in content, that's going to be our Link Validator tool. So when I click in that, you'll see that I've already actually run it because it takes a little bit to kind of go through an entire course. But basically there's a start link validator button. You won't see this kind of tree of information below. And then you have the option to show links to unpublished content. So that would be checking unpublished content for broken links, or checking
Links that try to go
thank you.
take students to content that has to be published.
Yes, yes, which in some cases, that might be planned, right? I'm not gonna publish these things until this point. So you might expect certain things to be broken, but I usually just make sure it shows everything. That way I can actually go through and double check, because sometimes things might get caught in the noise there. So here are two content areas. And when you look to the left, there's a little icon that denotes what kind of content it is. Here we've got the syllabus page, but there's another icon for pages and discussion boards. And here's an example of an assignment. But the real benefit here is I can click into these links, and that's going to take me right to where the material is broken. So obviously, like we learned before, I can't actually figure out exactly what might not be showing in this moment. But what I can do is I can look and kind of see, if I click on that preview, there's the example. Oh, let me do this. New share, full screen desktop. So when I click on those links, it actually opens the file for an image. So when we see these little previews, those little image icons, I click on the first one, this is what it opens. And I go, oh, that's kind of weird. That's this. And then I might go, oh, let me look at student view. Oh gosh, I don't know why.
So why is it not working?
So that's where we can kind of go a little bit deeper. And something that I find in most cases with images, it's probably the image is living in another course. So when the course got copied or the content got copied over, it didn't update the links. So for example, here, if I go to edit, and I'm going to jump into the actual HTML editor for a moment. Okay, here's my different images that I'm using there that apparently aren't being seen. And if I go to my link validator, I click these and I look at them, I'll be able to kind of cross-reference and go, okay, those are my three images, at least in this course, that denote certain objectives. Well, I look at courses and I look at the course number. And I go, huh, that's different than the course I'm currently in. I'm currently in 2350747. I look at the URL here, 2266594. That's a completely different course. That's actually, because I worked in this course, that's the template course that this was copied from. So it didn't update those links, and the students obviously don't have access to that.
Because the students aren't enrolled in the template course, so they don't have permission to see anything from that course.
Exactly.
As the instructor, though, you are enrolled in the template course, so you're able to load up those images and those resources, and it appears to be working fine, but for the student, it's not.
100%. And in this case, generally when we copy things over, really all I need to do is I just come in here, and even though I can still see the image, I go insert image, and I go course images, and I can look through, and based off of what this image is, I can go find it. So I can go and look through my images. I can see if I can find it directly in here. If I remember correctly, trying to remember the actual name of the image. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit of a process, but here I can find, oh, BG, that's what it was. So then I can just replace it. And in this case, this course is not very clean. Like there's a number of duplicates, which could explain some of the issues. But here I've just replaced that one. Then I'm just going to do the same for this one. And then I'm going to click and I'm going to look for my rocket ship. Who knows where that's living? So in the interest of time, I'm going to update the syllabus. And then what we should see is when I go to student view, these two work, and this one I still need to find. But that's just an example of, okay, I've cross-referenced what's in the link validator. I've looked in the rich HTML editor. in the HTML editor, in the rich content editor, and I've seen that the course numbers don't line up. And that's most likely going to be most of the issues that you see. That's the vast majority that I see.
And most of the time you can fix that by doing what you just did. Edit the
Yep.
page, select the image, insert image from course files, and basically relink to the files that are hosted in this course.
Yep.
There might sometimes be cases where you would have to go and re-upload a new copy from your computer or wherever you stored the original copies of those
Mhm.
images, but usually that workflow.
Yeah, I would say I've never had to do that, but
Okay.
it's not to say that that wouldn't occur.
Right, right.
Most of the time, the image is just living in the files and the link didn't get updated.
Gotcha. Great.
Because Canvas, it's got a mind of its own. So now we've at least fixed two of these. We'll ignore the other one. And then we've got a link to grades, for example. So in this case, this isn't an image anymore. This is a link. If I click on that, it's going to take me, to the grade book for
The old course.
an old course. So that would need to get updated as well. So I can just jump in here and remind myself where I've got that. I think it's how is my work graded? And this is where remembering, there we go. Remembering, what content is in there is helpful. But in this case, I might just remove the link, insert, link, course link. And then I'm going to go to course nav. I'm going to click grades. That's going to update it so that when I look at this link option, looks like the course number now aligns with the course that I'm in. So just quickly fix that and I can click done and save this. It should be fine. Now, the last thing I've got in here is I've got some actually potentially old links. So if I just click on those, it looks like, either the link got updated on the main site, looks like it was to student services and disability access services. So all I need to do is just find out what the appropriate link is for those and once again, update them.
And that can be especially helpful if you have a course with many, many external links. Maybe it's to an external textbook website or YouTube videos or articles that you want students to read. Those things change over time. Websites change their server structure, so then the link gets updated, or maybe they unpublish something. And if you have, perhaps dozens or even hundreds of external links in a course, it would take forever for you to manually check those every quarter. But this will do a lot of that work for you and then identify the ones that are problematic.
And one of the, just to connect that further to, once again, the syllabus, you probably have a vast number of resources that are external links in your syllabus, because you're trying to get students connected to those resources. Right. Those change all the time. And sometimes as instructors, we don't get notified about that. It's just kind of how things go. So it can be a nice double check, especially when you don't really have the time to go through every single link, of course, just like you said. So then, so we worked through the syllabus. I'll just kind of save us the pain of watching me trying to remember where these things are, especially in that syllabus. But let's jump into this chunking assignment. So if I open that link, puts these out, we kind of get the idea of what's going on there. I've got a couple things wrong here. We're missing an image. We've got a chunking and English 101 assignment. These are not accessible to students in the course, which is just kind of shorthand for it might be living in another course. So that's where I would be double checking course numbers. And then we've got this chunking template, which says the unpublished content reference, there's unpublished content referenced in this resource. So that chunking template is currently not published potentially in my files. So the first thing I would probably do, because this for me is the low-hanging fruit, jump into files, go see, and one of the benefits of this is that the way this course is set up, it's got nice folders that I can go look through, and there it is. Gosh dang it, unpublished. So I publish this, that's going to immediately fix that in my link validation. And then I've got to just double check, okay, I've got an image in there that's not working, and I've got an assignment that's not working in there. And in this case, we know that these little objective icons were not working, so I'm imagining it's probably this. And then I've got, if I remember correctly, my chunking template we just fixed. It's the chunking English 101 assignment. So if I go down, it's my example right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit. I can double check again using my HTML editor, scroll down. Oh, I already passed my objective, didn't I? This is where.
Oh, that was in the grading criteria.
Oh, thank you.
So it's towards the bottom. This grading criteria. There it is. Your cursor's right.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So we've got this chunking assignment. This one looks good. And then I'm just gonna have to double check.
Oh, no, that's not good. That's not the right. That's going to a different course. It's not the.
Oh,
course
you're right. This is the right one. Okay, this is the right problem.
Yeah.
Chunking English 101 assignment. Thank you, Caleb. Your eyes are better than mine. We look at the course. It doesn't line up. You got 2350747. The URL here is incorrect, which means that it's pointing to a file that doesn't exist in this course and students wouldn't be able to access. So that's an easy one. I'm going to go down. And the beauty is with a lot of this stuff, especially when it's like files, the link is probably the same, or the title is going to be the same. So chunking an English 101 assignment, I just have to remove the link, insert document, course documents. I'm just going to search up chunking. And here's the one that I want to use.
I think it's the first one. They assigned this on the first.
In this version, ignore some of it's a weird course.
Okay.
The one
That's history we don't care about.
Yeah. Okay. Ignore that. So I have put in the correct, for this case, assignment. And then I'm going to go up to my icon and let's see, it's under purpose. We'll just do the double check. If I can find my purpose. Not like that. You get what I'm trying to say.
Aren't we all trying to find our purpose there? That's what
Under
college is for.
details. Okay, here we go. And then here's the other example. So 2350747. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. I'm just cross-referencing it here. So basically the source URL is just something that the student wouldn't be able to access. So again, we can do the quick double check, but we know when we go to student view, we can't see it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to insert course images. I think it was. Oh gosh. There we go. Wow. Good memory, Nick.
Good job.
Okay. So then I'm just going to
Sketch is fixed.
fix sketch. And I should be good here. I will now save it. And I go to student view, should be able to double check. So
Sketch is there.
sketch is there, that's great. Chunking template should open, there we go. We're not getting that weird things not here.
It's working.
And I go back down to examples. There's my chunking English 101. And there we go.
Also working. Great.
Templates working.
So
And
if we were to go back to the link validator and rerun it, would it hopefully show
it
that
should
we
hopefully,
fixed? There's a couple that we just didn't fix, so there'll be a few there, but it should be a much smaller list of broken problems.
Yep. So we should at least fix a good number of them. And we should see that change once this finishes validating.
Okay.
So
what's the workflow here that people should be following? Should they just get in the habit of doing the link validation every time they copy a course?
that would be my recommendation. It doesn't take too long. You can just kind of have it running in the background while you do other things. And like we just did, took just a couple of seconds. Larger courses will take like 30 seconds. But it's worth it just to have the peace of mind, but also if there is something weird with your course, for whatever reason, a link is broken. Every time you copy that over, it's going to maintain that broken link. If a student doesn't catch it, or the students are particularly quiet in a quarter,
They might just miss out on content that you would like them to see.
exactly. So that can be a little bit of an issue. So and this is something that even when I'm copying for a faculty member, I do just in case, because I want to make sure that students are going to be able to access everything from day one that they need to.
And then if somebody uses this tool and they see multiple problems and they're feeling overwhelmed or they're not quite sure how to fix these, they should contact us, right? And we can look at it with them, identify where the problem is and help them get it solved.
Yeah, and especially if you're using something like a template course as well, we want to make sure that that template course that you're using is fixed so that
It doesn't keep happening quarter after quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
I was gonna say, how's everybody feeling on this one? Pretty easy to use tool. It's more of the more kind of nitpicky elements after you do the link validation and start going through those links. So just something to consider.
Jennifer's got a comment in the chat. Would love a launching pad module that we could put somewhere where we could keep all those campus resource links up to date so that instructors could copy those every quarter and be confident that those are the most current ones. It's a good idea. I don't think we currently have something like that. We would probably have to work with the TLC and the Kettle and maybe some other departments to help collect the right list of links and keep those updated, but it's a good idea. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, and I think that would make a lot of sense just to have an option.
Yeah.
Just make it look at preference.
Yep. Good idea, Jennifer.
Because you've run the link validator, but then do you want to go searching through everything to find
right?
the correct
Because
link?
it'll tell you that a link is broken, but it's not going to tell you what should be in its place.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea. Any other questions about this tool or this workflow? It's a fairly straightforward one, but I think it's a really useful tool that I don't think a lot of instructors know about or use on a regular basis. So I like the idea of promoting it, telling people that use it every quarter, get used to it.
Yeah, get in the habit. I think it'll save a little bit of headache later on, especially if it catches something that is coming up that the students won't have essentially encountered yet in the course.
I'm going to jump in here real quick and give you a warning about false positives.
Please
We
do.
all know about false positives. Sometimes when you delete something out of the rich content editor that included links, and you won't see the link in the rich content editor, but if you go into the HTML, you'll still see an artifact from the link in there. And this link validator will catch those. So the thing you have to remember is if the students can't see it, it's no big deal. You don't have to try to fix that. It's just the obvious things that students can't see that you really need to fix. But some of those artifacts, especially if you've got a page that you've been using a lot and you've updated a lot, you might have like 5 or 6 artifacts strung together and they're all broken links, but the students aren't going to see that because they're buried in HTML.
That's good to know. And if that's a problem in one of your courses, we could probably help take a look at the HTML of that and figure out what ghost tags are still floating around in the HTML and bust those ghosts for you.
Well, right now I'm working on a false positive or negative issue where I have a link to academic dishonesty policy of Washington State, and it's listing it as a broken link. But in fact, it is taking me to a very long list of various legal issues that have to do with academic dishonesty, which is where I want students to go. So it really is not a broken link, although every time it's going to be showing it to me as a broken link. It's just the list is humongous and there are many, many places you could go. I can even send you the link, but it is, many. Here it is, just as an FYI.
Okay. Diana, if you're worried, if you would like to have us help you resolve that so it doesn't keep showing up in your link validator, if you want to email me or Nick or Melanie with the link to the course, we could take a look at that and figure out why it's throwing up an error message and hopefully get it resolved so it wouldn't do that any longer. But this is a good example of don't just take the tool's word for it. It's a starting point to test out these problems, and it may be a perfectly valid link, but for whatever reason, Canvas's validation system thinks it's a bad link, which in this case it's not, so.
And that could mean that it's literally the structure of the link itself, not the actual site,
That could,
which is probably something we would have to take a look at and see
Yeah.
if we can clean that up.
so we're happy to look at that if you wanna shoot us an email at some point, Diana.
And then,
This is fine. It's just not an automatic use. It's a great tool.
Yes, you're right. It's not an automatic use. It's a tool, and as with many tools like ChatGPT, for example, which we've been
Oh,
dealing
there you
with
go.
for a while,
look at-
you don't just trust it. You verify. You use it and you verify its trustworthiness.
So then, I'm seeing, Jennifer, you said, will these be the same issues that show up when you copy a course? Would you mind kind of explaining that a little bit further? I want to make sure I can answer that fully.
Yeah, so you copy a course and in the migration, there's usually a report that's provided. And when you click on that report, once you migrate or copy a course, over, it'll give you a list of issues. So a lot of those are broken link issues. So I just have on my checklist of everything to do every quarter, to go through, and my pictures are always fine because I upload those to my user profile, so they're not linked to a specific course. But when I link within a course, like link to modules or link to gradebook, those are the ones that I have to go back through and update because they were associated with a previous course. So, but then that migration thing also it reminds me that I need to go fix those before I publish the next quarter.
Yeah, I think that's the same tool as
Okay.
Link Validator, but I'm gonna bat it over to you, Jerry, just to see if there's any limitations with that report specifically. I've done the same in the past, Jennifer, and used that to kind of direct my thinking, but I don't know what the limitations are on that. Jerry?
I would use both tools. I think the error message you get when you copy content over just looks at your pages. It's not necessarily going to look at some of the deeper links. And so I would really be careful and use both tools together. Look to see what errors come up on the course import, because that's the first thing you're going to see. When you go to that course import page, you're going to see 11 issues. You click on that, you can see each issue, and you can click on each link and it'll take you to that page. That may not catch, I don't know that catches external links. I can't remember. So I would then, once you fixed all those issues, run your link validator just as a double check. I would do the import first, fix all those issues, then run your link validators. That way you don't get you don't get catch things. You don't have things showing up, the same thing, error showing up in two different places.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Well, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we're approaching the end of our tech talk today. And that's our last one scheduled for February. I'm not sure what we're doing next month yet.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll get back to you. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm gonna turn off the live stream.
Yeah, thank you all for your questions. Keeps us on our toes, keeps us decent.